Boom, it looks like we are live, Will. Hey folks, welcome to the LifterLMS pre-sales call. My name is Kurt. I've got Will Middleton with me. We're going to be here for the next hour or so answering questions about LifterLMS. What does an LMS deal with? And its relationship to WordPress. So if you've got any questions, comments, concerns, go ahead and drop a comment and wherever you're watching. Could be Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitch, or if you got questions about our Black Friday sale, don't hesitate. Drop a question in the comment area, and Will and I will get you handled. Will, how you doing, man?
I'm doing all right. I'm excited. LifterLMS just passed 4,500 subscribers on YouTube. So that's nice to see as I log into the YouTube studio and check for some comments. But
boom,
I'm not really ready for Thanksgiving week, which is not really the best thing to say Wednesday before Thanksgiving. I got some Hawaiian rolls and butter from Costco, so I'm gonna be fine with that.
Oh yeah, carb up, baby, carb up.
Let me do the YouTube studio. Yeah, I'm just doing the same thing. Learning code and answering tech questions and all kinds of crazy stuff. So, how about you though? You're in Kansas still. You got a new camera set up.
Kansas. Oh yeah, I'm using the new camera today. And then it was really dark, so I was like, okay, I'll put this little light on. So I put a little light on, but it's still dark. Like I'm gonna have to add a ton of light, I think, for this camera to do what I think I want it to do. I even brought in a little light on the side here to try and take away some of those shadows I get. But I was like trying to get it off camera a little bit, over there. So I was trying to help diffuse some of those shadows, but we'll get there, man. It's so weird. We ended up selling as an agency. We sold work right before the move to California to Kansas.
Yeah.
And I've been busy. I've got some new stuff I'm doing with LifterLMS, as you well know, because you give me the work. And then, I'm working with WP Tonic, and I got some work there. And then, I sold stuff through my own agency. So it's weird. It's like, as we left California and reduced our overhead, I was able to bring in more work. And it's like, all right, well, let's just see how this goes. But yeah, I'm not ready for Thanksgiving either, because I'm probably going to spend most of it tapping away on a keyboard.
Yeah. And speaking of tapping away at a keyboard, we do have some people joining us live. Let us know in the comments, wherever you're watching us, Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, LinkedIn, StreamYard. Any questions you have about LifterLMS, we'll be here to answer any questions. We can do a screen share. We can dive in, and we'll be pulling questions from Facebook and YouTube. But yeah, there you
Randy Hutchinson. Everyone else calls it Hutch. But yeah, we ended up in Hutch, which is just northwest of Wichita. And dude, I couldn't be happier. I was not looking forward to moving to Kansas, but my wife had family here, and I was like, well, we're going to save money. Let's give it a shot. Ugh. And then we got here, and it was amazing. Everything's amazing. We invited strangers in for hot coffee yesterday they came to pick up some junk from the property management company. And we say, hey, come on in for a cup of coffee. Just great people. Everyone here has been great. And Newton's like half hour, 45 minutes up the road. My wife likes houses in Newton. We're in a rental now, and we're looking for our forever home. So everything's on the chart. Everything's on the chart. Will, you put a really good question in here. I don't know where you got this, but it says, is it possible to let users use their own domain names?
Mm-hmm.
How many times do we see this a year? Probably 5 times, 6 times?
Yeah, not a lot. I mean, it's good. That's like an example of a user who's probably coming from like another LMS, like, I don't know, Kajabi or
some kind of SaaS application.
Yeah.
Right? So SaaS is software as a service. Those are things that you subscribe to. So Udemy, Kajabi,
Teachable.
I think Bridges of SaaS, Learn Upon, SumTotal. There's all these different things. And it's kind of like if you go to WordPress.com. If you go to WordPress.com, you can have a free WordPress website. Like my name's Kurt. So maybe it's going to be kurt.wordpress.com, will.wordpress.com. And then if you want to map your own URL to that, they have a service that you can upgrade that way, right? So a lot of people ask that question because that's their previous experience. But generally, when we talk about LifterLMS, we're talking about a self-hosted solution that you're putting in your own website. So yeah, your own domain, absolutely. You know, whether you're on Bluehost, Cloudways, DevRims, see, I dropped a name like that, DevRims, or 20i, or WP Tonic. You know, you're going to reserve a URL, and then you're going to be able to point that URL to whatever you build in the WordPress space. And if you're on a WordPress site and you want to add LifterLMS, we'd love to have you.
Absolutely. So the domain aspect, like with WordPress, it really unlocks full control over your platform. I was talking to someone earlier about data privacy stuff and how it's nice with WordPress that you own your data as the business owner, and like of course you have it hosted somewhere like DigitalOcean, WP Engine, DevRims, or something like that, for
Nice name.
for hosting your site. And so there's less numbers of businesses that have access to the data, right? So you have your hosting company, let's say WP Engine, for example, and then you have your CRM, ActiveCampaign maybe, or maybe you're using Fluent CRM or Groundhog to run it out of the backend of your WordPress website, and then you might use an automation software like Zapier to send the data from your WordPress site to your ActiveCampaign. But then you've got 3 servers now. You've got your WordPress hosting, ActiveCampaign, and Zapier that have access to that data. I like to remove as much as possible when I can of those number of companies that have access to the data. So I would remove Zapier, and I might use WP Fusion to move my data from the WordPress to ActiveCampaign, or I might use webhooks to integrate 2 sites together instead of using that third party. But there are situations where the user experience of the third-party application is good, or if they're giving you suggestions for different workflows you could create based on data from other people, they have to collect the data in order to give these recommendations. Like ClickFunnels is a great example of that. But that's a really long-winded way of saying WordPress doesn't offer as many of these templated out-of-the-box solutions, but you are much more in control of your data and what you're creating on WordPress than you are on a lot of hosted solutions. So there's benefit of hosted solution, there's benefit of building on WordPress, but it's just good to know what pros and cons of each are and what fits your situation.
You know, I hear you say that, and I want to be careful how I say things, you know, as opposed to every other day. When we talk about templated solutions, I think it's almost important to mention, like, a lot of people just starting out in, like, that are just getting into WordPress. Sometimes they might feel overwhelmed because it's like, I remember when I was young and I bought my first real PC at the store, right? And then you open it up and it doesn't do anything because there's nothing in it, right? Now I just bought this big expensive box with nothing in it. And then they're like, oh, well, you got to buy Microsoft Office and you got to buy, this, and you have to buy that. And you're like, so crap, this thing does nothing without the other stuff. And that's almost like the WordPress experience to a new person. Like, they get into WordPress, they download it, they upload it, they follow whatever the process is for that host. They get an instance of WordPress up, and then they go to look at the website, and it's going to say, that stupid first, hello world, and they're like, well, now what do I do? But
Yeah.
there's like so many options out there now that are just plug and play for starter sites or to cram something in, and then that gives you that kickstart. That gives you that, you can build off of whatever you start with.
Right. And those solutions are a little bit harder to find with an open source software because they're branching in all kinds of different directions. Like, you might figure out what WordPress is based on finding a LifterLMS video, but you might have been considering, Kajabi versus Lifter, and then you have to use WordPress for Lifter. There's all kinds of ways you could enter the ecosystem. So yeah, I think those are just some key distinctions to know about WordPress versus hosted solutions. This was a question from our Facebook group. I'm still using the Earth bundle right now, and I'm using the PayPal add-on. How can I get a downloadable record that I can see who's paid for what in a given month when I go to the reporting tool? There's no way to export the data.
I was hoping you would take this question today because I purposely ignored it when I saw it on social yesterday.
Nice. Yeah, let me pull up a demo site real quick, and we'll take a look at the reporting. And my demo site's loading super slow. I don't know if it's my internet or what's going on. Let me close all these extra applications.
Close all these things.
And if I mean, I guess I could pull up a locally hosted website too. But I guess I could talk through it. The LifterLMS student data is exportable, and so if you were to go to a course, you could export a list of students, their progress, and all kinds of interesting data related to that. As far as like sales reporting, LifterLMS isn't a super advanced e-commerce system. It has like a basic e-commerce system that's relative to other WordPress LMSs is pretty reasonably good as far as what kind of plans you can create. And it's but if you're really going down that report of like I need downloadable records to see who's paid for what and like user statistics over time, I'd recommend a more robust e-commerce solution like WooCommerce or Metarik, or even with the PayPal add-on. LifterLMS passes data to PayPal, so there's reporting from the PayPal interface you could get as well. I would recommend just exploring those advanced e-commerce solutions. I don't know. What do you think about that, Kurt? Like with once you start
I was going to refer them to the reporting directly in PayPal. Because I'm like, the question says we do everything with PayPal. So I'm like, well, PayPal has all your records for your transactions. And if you go into LifterLMS and you pull up an order, you can download the order, right? But you can't download a series of orders. And so I was thinking about it. Well, I don't even know. Like, would that be a valid feature request? Like someone wants to export their list of orders? I never really gave it much thought because I always did everything in screen.
Yeah. If someone wants to export the list of orders, yeah. So that data is exportable if you were to get like WP all export, or I don't even know if you were to download an XML file from the WordPress default export thing and then convert it to a CSV, that would be possible. But yeah, there's all kinds of ways you can export a WordPress post type into a CSV file and then separate it that way.
Yeah.
I think
and I know this is a pre-sales call, right? But sometimes we get questions and people have to, hopefully people recognize that a single request out of thousands of installs isn't really a feature request, right? Because now it's a custom thing. So if it's really part of the business requirement and you have the volume that's like, we have to have this, to deal with the volume of orders we have. God, I wish that would happen to me. I would just prefer that to Codable to see if they would just make a tool, like an export tool for that. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a pretty simple thing to do with for developers to build an export tool function like that.
Well, don't say it's too simple because then they're going to wonder why we didn't just do it.
Oh yeah, well, yeah. I mean, if you're like looking to put like 10 hours into building like a custom export for your specific business, that would make sense. But yeah, with Lifter, it's like simple to do. Is like it's simple to probably deploy on one website because all the data is in the database. It only needs to be queried and then shown in some kind of reporting interface, which is relatively simple for an individual developer to do. But then if you were to have to deploy that as a part of a plugin that gets deployed across like more than 10,000 websites and then worry about what it crashes, how the data is stored, is it relevant for the business, what percentage of the business's customers is this feature going to be relevant to? Like there's so many more factors to be considered with adding it to Lifter directly. But Randy asked another question here in the StreamYard chat. I use Fluent CRM, SureCart, and Cadence on my site. I also use a free, that sounds exactly like the person I was talking to earlier, Fluent CRM, SureCart, and Cadence. I also use a free version of Pabbly Connect. I don't know that one.
I use Pabbly.
With LifterLMS, does it make sense to use WP Fusion, or is it not needed with my stack? I'm not a creator, but would like to create course for personal finance. Do I need LifterLMS for this, or would it accomplish with WP Fusion? Do I need LifterLMS for this, or can it be accomplished? So just Fluent CRM and WP Fusion. I don't know.
I can stomp all over this.
Yeah.
Let me talk to my fellow Kansasonian. What are people from Kansas called? Kansasonians? Kansanans?
That's a good question. I don't know.
That's a good question. You can Google that while I'm answering the question. So one of the first things you need to recognize, Randy, is that Adam Silver says you call Kansas people lonely. That's not cool, Adam. That's not cool. I love Kansas. So, Randy, if we think about the tools that you listed, Fluent CRM, SureCart, and Cadence. First off, Cadence is a great theme. Wonderful theme. I'm either a Astro or Cadence person myself if I'm not using our own SkyPilot. So that's a great choice. SureCart integrates with LifterLMS, no problem. And then Fluent CRM. If you have Fluent CRM Pro, that automatically integrates with LifterLMS. It checks for the instance of Lifter and gives you all the integrations that would be like kind of the obvious out of the box ones, like enroll someone in a course if they fill out this form, unenroll somebody from a course for a certain action on the website. You can set different triggers and stuff for automation to do that. The big question is you're mentioning some automation tools, and I'm wondering what it is you want to automate. I always go back to this question because in a lot of cases, there's nothing to automate. Like if you haven't built the course yet, the first thing is to build the course and work on getting your first 5 paid students, your first 10 paid students, your first 20 paid students, and seeing some kind of stability grow from it. And then worry about, okay, this is what I'm having to do to maintain these 20 people. What automation would make this easier in my workflow? Because even though we have a lot of consistent things that we automate in our field, they're not all applicable all the time to every course builder in every situation. I find that every situation is very different. That was a roundabout answer, wasn't it, Will? So you don't need Pabbly or WP Fusion for most of the automations that you would want to do if you're using Fluent CRM, because Fluent CRM Pro automatically does the integration for you.
Yeah, and I think like if you have less than 25 students on the website, you don't need WP Fusion. I love Jack, but like you got like the purpose of that powerhouse level automation is so that you can eliminate manual work and change the user experience over time. And that those just don't really matter when you're at that 0 to 25, 0 to 50 stage. Once you hit the unless you're doing large deal sizes, unless you're doing like, $1,000 or more per user. I think like with a course that's about like $100 or something, using the LifterLMS tools out of the box is the best way to get to about 50 students. And then CRM integrations to take things to the next level is something I would do after 50 students. What do you think about that, Kurt?
I was distracted reading a text message from Adam Silver. And he basically chat GPT'd the code that we were asking for on our last question. So
what code?
Which I found interesting.
Oh, the
how to export user data.
Oh yeah, well, yep, that might work. Well, I mean, it knows WordPress. It knows WordPress's code, but does it know like LifterLMS's order?
I don't know. I'll look at it later. It's a long text, man.
Okay.
So, what was your question again?
Oh yeah, just the idea of like, I think if for the first like $5,000 of business revenue there, or like the first 50 students or first 25 students, there's not really a need for anything other than just the core tool like Lifter or whatever LMS you're using.
Dude, you know me, I'm cheap. I don't want to pay for any extra tools until I have revenue to cover it. And so that's literally how I make decisions, and that's how I try to help my customers as well. I have clients that come through the agency and they start like with these giant dreams, and I'm like, okay, let's reduce the dreams a little bit. Like I'm all about selling it. Like I'll do it. You want it, I'll build it. But let's talk realistically. Let's have a strategy and build you something that you can grow into, rather than some giant monolith of a website that you don't have any users for yet. And that comes from experience, because I made those mistakes myself when I got started. I was building crazy cool projects, did all kinds of neat things, but I didn't have any customers.
Yeah.
Right. And that's that. And then it becomes, then you end up splitting your time between, maintenance and being an IT professional, versus being a business person growing your business. And that's a hard line to walk.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Like focusing on the business needs rather than the website needs in
Yeah.
that first stage.
Yeah. I'm kind of talking in a circle. This is supposed to be a pre-sales call, and now people are going, I don't even know if I want to do this now. but I love the idea of being a course creator, sharing the knowledge I've gained over the years. As you know, Will, I've had way too many jobs in my life, and so I've got all these different experiences. And it's cool when you can take a moment, of clear thought, make a syllabus, and then expand the syllabus to have content, and then put it up, and then see somebody grow from it. That's really, really cool stuff. The next step, of course, is monetization and scale and having things go. When you were talking about, Jack and WP Fusion and all that, I kept thinking to myself, automation to me is to reduce those repetitive tasks that have become so burdensome from scale. If I got to do something 10 or 20 times, I'll get over it. But if I got to do it 200 times, I want a tool to replace that action. And so that's kind of the way I think about it when I think about some of the tools that go with that last question.
Yeah.
Plus, we didn't even talk about it, dude. Again, I was like, well, what kind of automation? Because remember, we have notifications and engagements that come with Lifter. And so, like, what's the automation you're looking for? Is it, welcome to your new course? Well, that comes with LifterLMS. Is it congratulations, you passed a test? Well, that comes with LifterLMS as the platform, because that's one of the engagements and notification processes. So we have a lot of automation that comes with LifterLMS out of the box. But when you get into like marketing emails, or like using a lead magnet to automatically sign somebody up for a course, well, then that's one of those automation tools like a Pabbly, Automator WP Fusion type of a task. But it goes back to use case. Do you need that to make your model work?
Yeah. And I think back to like high level with websites that started out kind of not in the form they are today. Like when WordPress was first released in like 2003, the code was like rough, really rough. And today it's like this big robust system that powers 40% of the internet. But there were so many errors in the PHP and stuff, and like in the back like 20 years ago. And the same thing would apply to like Facebook, or Udemy. Like when Udemy first came out, I don't remember it, but they did put probably Chris told me the number one time, but just millions and millions of dollars into developing Udemy, and it wasn't even close to the monolithic functionality monster that it is today, where you have all this crazy features. And so, like you said, I think a lot of our users try to roll out this technological monolithic website with a bunch of plugins, a bunch of functionality. The thing is fast and it's all optimized, but there's not like the users to support it. So I think really focusing on that business need is really, really good at the start. But then, once you start to scale and you're starting to face difficulties serving all your customers, then like you got to get Fluent CRM to email them, because it's like it's too much work to email them one-on-one now. Or something, because you got to solve. It's like Fluent CRM shouldn't be the addition to the business; it should be the solution to the problem, I think.
Boom! Oh my goodness, catchphrase slipped right out of your face. So you mentioned Udemy, and I was just thinking, how much is Udemy worth? And in 2020, it was valued at over $3 billion. So that was a few $1 million well spent.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but like it's you might not have a few $1 million to put into your LifterLMS website, but if you have like the money to cover the hosting, the domain, and like the tools, you could put together basic courses that serve a demographic, get the customers, and then you're going to start to notice problems you could solve with tech tools, and then just keep growing in that space.
In a DIY space, just think about it, dude. Millions to create Udemy, right? But in the DIY space, if you were creative and did your homework, for about $2,000, you could launch a really crazy cool e-learning platform and try to make your mark. You know, you could have all the add-ons from LifterLMS. You could have a decent CRM tool. Then you could cover your hosting, and even pay for some ads.
Yeah, and I think it's all just about solving a problem and getting a return on your investment, especially when it comes to like ads and stuff. But paid ads is not the best way to get your first 10 enrollments. But it is the best. It is one of the best ways to get your 20 to 30,000 enrollments, to make the jump from 20 to 30. Like that, the Facebook ads is going to be like one of the best ways to do that. So like, it's like the question of like, how do I scale my platform? It's like, what stage are we at? Are we at validation? Are we at scale? Like what, I think that's an important question to ask, and not in a way that diminishes the value of the business, but just how can we best serve the business where it's at and help it grow to where it needs to be. We got to be realistic about where it's at and what we should.
You're talking about investment and ROI. This is a great time to talk about Black Friday.
Yeah.
This is the week. I bought something last night. Like I was like, I knew I was going to buy something this year. And I was like, I'm just going to do it. So I went and bought something. And I got a smoking hot deal on my product too. Folks, this is the time. All November, 50% off. Black Friday 23 is the code when you check out. And my goodness, man, if you went for the Infinity bundle, which is normally $1,200, you'd be saving $600 right out of the chute. So, I was saying for less than $2,000, a really crafty DIY type creator could make a really awesome platform right now, because everyone's got a deal, right? You could jump on Fluent or Groundhog and then put that on the back of your site with LifterLMS, and man, you'd have a powerhouse.
Yeah.
Sure. Oh, Adam's leaving. Ta-ta.
And then this question we had earlier about the using the PayPal add-on and getting a report. I thought about this as well. You could integrate Google Analytics, because that works with LifterLMS via Monster Insights or just regular Google Analytics application. Because if you're caring about month-over-month financial reports and how that relates to what you're going to do in your business, you're looking at like solving a problem that relates to a business that's doing significant month-over-month revenue, where it's more than probably 20 orders recurring per month that we need to start to track. So that's where once the business is that complex, I think the Google Analytics solution would be another consideration there, or PayPal, whatever. But
yeah, it's so funny because someone comes up with an idea and goes, well, it doesn't do this, and then you come up with like 6 different ways to make it happen. It's but that's like the fun of WordPress, right? There's always a way to solve the issue. Shazam.
All right. Okay, sorry, I was typing that out on Facebook. I sometimes put questions on the call here. We answer them, and then I just leave them on the platform where they are, assuming the person. I don't assume they're going to watch the call, but it's just like, well, we answered it. It's in the middle of an hour-long live stream. Go try to find it. This is an interesting idea. Maybe we could talk about this. This is like what are some features?
Oh, I turned it off because I was turning off the banner. There you go.
What features would you like to added to LifterLMS in 2024? Like, Kurt, what would be your wish list? This is like not Kurt working for Lifter, but Kurt working for agency work with a wish list from Lifter. Because Chris put this on the Facebook group, so I think it's fine to put it on the live stream.
Yeah, these are the kinds of things, because I'm the kind of person that sees a tool and uses the tool, right? Like, I don't walk into my shed, grab a hammer, and go, man, I wish I could use this hammer to remove these nuts and bolts off my truck. Like, I'd grab a wrench for that, right? And so, that's the kind of user that I am. So sometimes I'm surprised when I get feedback where people are like, oh, it should do this or it should do that. The one thing that I think people look for is people want more front-end interactivity with their products. And I don't think people understand how complicated that can be when they request that. But I think a lot of people want more front-end interactivity, like being able to access a course builder through the front end, like have an external instructor in a course marketplace be able to, click a link and then add their course through the front of the site and build it through the front of the site, rather than giving them back end access to the admin dashboard and the admin menu and click on courses and click add new and click. Like, it'd be cool if it was like, if you had a course marketplace and someone was signed in as a guest instructor, they would just have a tab on their dashboard that would say add new course, and it would just go right to the course builder and they just start building it. That would be cool.
Yeah, and
that's streamlined stuff, right? And then what comes up with you and I is we go, well, if you really needed that for your use case, you could have that built. You could build that. You can, there are some tools that you can leverage in that way, but it would just be cool if it was out of the box. But how many people would use it?
Front-end course building?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think a reasonable amount of people would use it, maybe even if they're admins. And I like that feature because the admin of the website would likely use the front end more than they would use the back end, right? Because they would have their front end course builder and they would just, it's easier. It's like, I don't know, like I'll build software for myself to make things that I could otherwise do just easier for myself, even though of course I know how to do it the other way. I feel like that's what software is about. So that would, that'd be funny. That could be like the LifterLMS 2034 motto is like, never access the back end of your WordPress website again. Just install Lifter and build from the front end. It's kind of a cool idea.
Yeah. And then there's certain things, I don't know. Like sometimes you look at engagements and you're like, oh, I wish there was an engagement for this. But it's so rare that I have that thought. But it's like sometimes I'll be working on a customer project and they'll be like, oh, I wish I could send an engagement for this. And I'm like, well, yeah, that's not an option. You need a CRM for that. Maybe it's like if you have a cohort that's going to start on like December 1st, you want to send out a reminder November 28th, hey, don't forget your course starts in 2 days. But, we don't have that kind of functionality based on the way that our engagement and notification system is built.
Yeah. Add in built-in notification for drift lessons. Sorry, I'm in the background here answering this feature request about, this was one a community member put in. It'd be great if the notification could be sent when a drip lesson becomes available to a student. And yeah, that's one thing I just thought about. And like, this is the idea of tech solutions and how they're all kind of becoming the same thing, is like if this were to be a thing when a student could get, and you could do this now, like, how you'd use Groundhog or a Fluent CRM to send a broadcast email to like 100 people?
Yeah.
You could also theoretically do the same thing by using a LifterLMS email engagement, filling it out as your broadcast email, and then triggering it to send when people enroll into a course. And then you just take your CSV list of users and bulk enroll 100 people into a course at one time, and then they all get this email automatically. But they don't get the email about the fact that they enrolled in a course, but you're basically using LifterLMS as a CRM. So like, if someone is like, I want to use LifterLMS and nothing else, you could like engineer it into a CRM. But then at that point, it's like, why would you pay someone to go through that many steps as like a virtual assistant when you could, who would have to create the email engagement, create the trigger, upload the CSV, enroll the people into the course? It's totally possible, but it's just easier in a system that's designed to do that, even though you could kind of hack Lifter into doing anything.
I'm with you.
Yeah, it's like people are like, can I send a broadcast email out of Lifter? It's like, yeah, but not really, but you could, theoretically.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
It was a little bit of a tangent, but that idea is interesting. It's like as things become like a super product, and LifterLMS becomes a forms tool and a CRM and just an all-around solution, and every other tech company doing the same thing. But let me see if I can find another question from Facebook. Looks like we've had a lot of participation for Black Friday. The Buddy Boss webinar was great last week. I don't know. I don't really have anything else that I can see in these channels. Is there anything top of mind for you that you're working on this week with Lifter?
No, I've been thinking more and more about, especially with our upcoming projects that we're doing, is like stuff that is, I'm trying to get more basic in my thoughts, you know. We end up having a lot of these really cool conversations. Like we did that webinar last week with Buddy Boss, and that was awesome. But it gets your brain thinking 20 steps down the path. And I'm trying to think more like if someone's brand new to WordPress, how can we help them the most, right? How do we help people launch and feel comfortable or confident in, I have an idea and I want to put a representation of that idea online, And it's inevitably, you always end up having a conversation about complicating the issue. But I almost think it's more of a challenge now to think about, well, how simply can I do something? Or what are the minimal tools I would want to accomplish, a reasonable task?
Yeah.
We were looking at a host recently, and one of the things I really liked about this host was when you installed WordPress, it didn't install any extra garbage. It was like, here's your WordPress, and then you go to plugins and you're like, there's nothing there. Okay, we've got the 2023 theme, and we're ready to go. And it's just like, here we go. And I like that because it was kind of simple. I've done a couple of projects recently where I've had to migrate people's sites from one host to another, and then our hosting package would add a caching tool, or would add a security tool, or would add something, and then there'd be a conflict, and then you have to reverse engineer and troubleshoot to figure out, well, where's the conflict coming from? Well, I've gotten good enough now to recognize, well, they probably have a competing caching tool, or they probably have a competing security tool. But when you have a server where everything is just plain going in, it makes it a lot easier to make what you want.
Yeah, because you have some inspiration for the vision of what you want to create, like because you have the out of the box template, you have something to work off of.
Yeah.
Change. I'm trying to search something up in Slack, and it's just not working for me. I got to try the desktop app. Do you use applications on your local computer? I guess since we don't have questions, I'll ask a random question. Do you use applications like the Slack, for example? I use the web browser version of Slack instead of the one on my desktop.
I use the app. And I was using the Canva app for a while too, but the Canva app started getting buggy on me. So I was like, yeah, I went back to using the browser for Canva.
Cool.
There's a couple things. I tried doing I always say I'm going to give up on Facebook, but I even tried the Facebook app instead of Facebook in the browser. And I found that to be kind of buggy too. There's something about these companies. It's like, and I'm going to say something that's going to get me some negativity. Somebody might argue back, but it's like everyone wants a mobile app to go with their WordPress website. Like that's the buzzword now. Excuse me. And I just don't think they're clean enough. Like you go to use them and they're buggy, or they lock up, or they freeze up, or graphics don't look right, or something just seems weird. Like when you use the Facebook application on a PC, because I know you're a Mac guy, but when you use it on a PC, it looks like it's 12 years old. Like the colors don't even look the same. It looks antiquated, and it's choppy, and it doesn't, it holds up. Like you go to load a comment and a picture up, and it just kind of freezes and stares at you. And then, and then you think to yourself, if a company the size of Facebook can't pull this off well, what makes me think I'm going to do this in my garage?
Right. I think the challenge is they have just so much code that like there's more people using the browser extension, so they're more likely to put their development efforts towards supporting that than they are in optimizing how it works on local machines. Because like there's I would have to look at I could be completely wrong about user statistics, but I bet that more people use Facebook in their browser than they do in on Windows OS or Mac OS as the native system. So the code just has less eyes on it, I would assume.
Yeah, but I think my point is they're huge. Like they have the, like if they wanted to do it, they could, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they could make that happen. Um, and so when you like LinkedIn, I love LinkedIn. Everyone knows I love LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn. If you want to connect with me. But I'm the only Kurt Von Onen on LinkedIn. So when you look me up, you got the right guy. Anyway, their mobile app is miserable, and it's even more miserable when you look at it in a tablet. Like it's not responsive the way that your brain intuitively thinks it should be. And that's just another one of those things, right? They're owned by Microsoft, I think, right? Isn't LinkedIn owned by Microsoft now?
I don't know. I could look it up.
And it's like, really? You guys can't make this happen?
Yep. Yeah, 2016. I acquired that.
Yeah. And so I'm not a negative person. I'm a silver lining kind of guy. Like I'm always looking for the positives. So in my mind, I think to myself, I'm not going to beat my brain against the wall trying to figure out how to make Mañana No Mas a mobile app because, if these other cats haven't dialed it in yet, I don't know what makes me think I'm going to nail it.
Right. I think it's just where's your attention at? Like those companies realize that having their attention on these other applications means that they're able to grow quarterly, monthly, whatever they want to reach their goals. Like it's almost like having 80% happiness. Like there's almost like if you don't have enough customer complaints, you're not serving enough customers. And that's like a school of thought that like some larger companies take, or some companies take, not even larger ones. But and I'm more in the camp of trying to create a solution that works for every single user, but like a GitHub style solution. I really love their like way of building that business. But yeah, I think there is that other approach of like if you don't have like some percentage of refunds or like 5% refunds, then you're not selling hard enough.
Dude, when I used to race motorcycles, I went for like 3 seasons without crashing. And one of my friends pulled me aside and I said, he said, dude, you're having a good year. I said, yeah, man, I haven't crashed all year. And he says, you haven't crashed in 3 years. You're not going fast enough.
Yeah.
you need to go faster, bro.
Right. That it's that mentality. Like it's just a different school of thought. Could be right, could be wrong, could be contextual. I don't know, but I'm not as into that. One thing I thought about recently is, and this is something, Kurt, that you took on as, I guess, like a general LifterLMS philosophy, would be to let your project sit. Like you create a project, you let it sit because you might be early to the market or in some kind of cycle or bubble or whatever. So like that's the nice thing about Lifter and WordPress is like you can pick up when you have a website that takes off, you want to have like quality hosting, like a managed WordPress hosting solution that's designed for e-commerce and LMS and database optimization and all this stuff. Like you want architecture to support the platform you're building, but this is a caveat. This is Will's ad for why you can buy crappy hosting. And by crappy, I just mean like hosting that doesn't support dynamic content, doesn't support LifterLMS as well. It's not, if you were to build a restaurant website, a portfolio website, a Linktree website, a personal photography website, these, what I'm calling a crappy host, would be perfect for that example. It's just for Lifter, it's like we're trying to talk to the database, use quizzes, lesson completions, private messages, all this stuff, features that a website needs for like Lifter and e-commerce. So we require more advanced functionality from our hosts in many ways. But why not pick up? You've got your Presidium or your WP Engine or whatever. You got your high-end web host for your applications that have 100, 200, 300 students that you really want to make sure they have a good experience. And you've got that available to you. That's your like 30, $50 a month type hosting. And then you could also pick up your $10 a month hosting or $10 to $12 a month hosting, where you get unlimited websites and like a bunch of storage space, and you just spin out a bunch of projects and just see what happens. Whenever somebody asks a question, you could like spin up a little demo video for a course, put together a syllabus for that course using something like ChatGPT or make it up in your own head, whatever you want to do, and then pre-sell that course and see if anybody enrolls it or signs up for an interest list for the course. So I think LifterLMS could be a good like lead pages type application too, to like validate your sample offerings you're thinking of creating, but also having your higher end hosting for when things really take off.
Yeah, I still have 2 hosts. So I have one where I have all my production stuff, and I have one where I've put like some ideas. Because it's cheap and it's kind of like unlimited, and you can just throw stuff in there and not really care.
Yeah, I think, and we get that question a lot about like what hosting is best. What host should I use for my LifterLMS website? And I think even that question has some kind of like caveats to it of like, well, are you at the stage of validation? Because if you're in the stage of validating your course idea in the first place, you don't really need to worry about lost passwords not working. You know, so that if you're getting your first 100 students, the likelihood that there's going to be problems with a lot of them needing to reset their password is pretty low. But once you get 1,000 students, now it's going to become a problem. So you need to have like a host that isn't going to have issues with caching pages that shouldn't be cached. Like that's going to become a problem for the business once you're at that scale. But when you're at a lower scale, you know, who cares if you're using sales pages for your courses or if you're just using the course page and using dynamic content? Like you don't need to use dynamic content if you're getting your first 25 students. You just need to like validate the course offer. So let's use a host that caches things extremely and just isn't a good way to deliver LMS content. We're not using advanced videos to track users watching our videos. We're not trying to do anything intricate, so we can use hosting that doesn't support those more intricate features. I've been taking that mentality more and more as I've been producing more little test projects. That I'm like, you know, I don't need to go buy a robust solution. I'll just use a junk host. It sounds like you've been doing that for a while, though. That's a new thought to me to be like, I'll have 2 hosting accounts, the good one and the one that has plenty of resources.
Well, and we should be kind of clear because again, we're in pre-sales, right? So there's people that are just getting started, and there's people further along. And when I say things on this call like, well, that's for a project I don't really care about, I don't want people to think I'm crazy, like I'm just making junk. Like it's not like that, but it's like I'll have an idea or a concept, or I'll buy into a new, you know, suite of plugins that I want to try. And so I want to be an expert with the tools I have before I unleash them on my own customers, right? So I'll have a sample project here and a sample project there, or some idea that I was trying to flesh out to see if it'd be a good course or not. And the next thing you know, you got 15 projects that are, you know, floating around. And some people would say, oh, you could build that locally, right? And if you don't know what that means, you can build local on your own machine. And I've done that on occasion, but I like being hosted. I like having it up, and I like being able to play with stuff. But some hosts will charge you like you can have up to, you know, 1 WordPress install, or the next package is 3 WordPress installs, or the next package is 10 WordPress installs. Well, when you're like me and you have this adult ADD thing with your websites and you got 25 or 30 of them, you know, you're like, well, holy crud, I don't have $600 a month for hosting on projects that aren't generating revenue. So I'll plow those into bargain hosting just to play with them. And then I put my customer stuff on my better host.
Yeah. Cool. We got 10 minutes left. So anyone watching, let us know any questions you have about LifterLMS, any questions you're curious about in the industry. We create all kinds of sites with WordPress and Lifter. I'm thinking one thing that would be an interesting idea for us to do on the next pre-sales call is to send out a form with like questions to collect earlier in the week. Like I think that would be a pretty easy thing for us to do, like a gravity form on our Lifter website where we have people fill out their questions and then we'll answer those questions in the call. That's a little more work to put a form in an email, but I think it would be interesting.
Yeah, see if people sign in to hear their answer.
Yeah, or even watch.
So how are you planning on warming up these Hawaiian rolls?
That's a good question. I am hoping that where I go, they'll have an oven or something like that.
So you're going to go somewhere?
Yeah.
Okay. I was worried. I thought I was going to have to fly to Minnesota tonight to keep you company for the holiday.
Oh no. So I'm going to like a little potluck thing, and so that's what I was supposed to bring is Hawaiian rolls and butter.
There you go. Done. You're going to eat like a king. What are we talking? I'm feeling sorry for you. You're going to eat better than me.
But yeah, what are your Thanksgiving plans this weekend?
We're doing the traditional turkey and the trimmings, and then we're going to cook it here, and then we're going to take it to my sister-in-law's house, hang out with her for a bit.
Nice.
Yeah. Share the love. I don't know. We got a new bathroom this week, and so I cleaned the whole house downstairs after the construction guys left, and it's like every time I do something in this house, I get happier and happier with it. I'm losing my inspiration to be so quick to want to move again.
Nice. So you said you're searching for your forever home. Is that like, so you're sure that the place you're at right now is not it?
Oh, I'm definitely sure I'm not staying in this house forever. Yeah, this is not a nice house. So the thing is like, I like older houses. My wife likes newer houses. I'd like to be away from town with a lot of space, as in riding a dirt bike or shooting guns on multiple acres. And my wife is more like, town's kind of nice. We could just be in town. So we've got to figure out our compromises. But yeah, Hutchinson's turned out to be a very nice place. It's much nicer than I expected it to be. The community's phenomenal. I meet people every time I leave the house, dude.
Yeah, with living where you're at in Kansas with like the lower cost of living, you could just have two. You have the townhouse and the other house, and it's like cheaper than the renting where you're from.
What you said isn't even lost on me, dude. I was literally was like there's 40 acres for sale that's not built. It's only 15 minutes away from where I live now. 40 acres. And it is 1/3. Nope. It's 1/4 of the price of the house I just moved out of in California.
Right.
40 acres. I don't think people realize how big 40 acres is. 40 acres is walk a quarter mile, turn left, walk another quarter mile, turn left, walk another quarter mile, turn left. All that space in the middle is your 40 acres.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, you want a garden? You can have a garden. You want a motocross track? You can have a motocross track. You want to set up an archery range? You can have an archery range. If you want a 60 by 40 metal shop with a concrete floor and you want to work on Ducatis, build yourself a shop. Whatever you want. Doesn't matter. And this part of the country, they don't have a lot of rules about what you build. So you don't have to, it's not like, and it's not $50,000 to get water at your property either.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, that's like I painted my house like that. I got painted that pink color, like that same color that's behind me, because there's no rules about like what in these rural parts of the country about what you can and can't do, or codes and painting and stuff. But
no, it's So some people, like, I see old houses that I really, really like, and then you see old houses that are falling apart.
Yeah.
I like older houses. I like the character of them, and I like the old floors. I like all that cool stuff. But I also like concrete countertops and stainless steel gas stoves that are set up with 6 burners for commercial cooking and all that, right? So yeah, I could see buying a house and then gutting the kitchen and doing like a commercial kitchen setup in there and really having at it. I think that'd be fun.
Nice. Well, cool. I guess we could probably wrap up the call. We don't have a lot of questions, so we'll wrap it up for this week. We'll give you 5 minutes back in your day. And thanks everyone for joining us on this LifterLMS pre-sales call. We will be live again next week. Have a good Thanksgiving weekend if you celebrate, and we'll see you next week.
And if you're bored during the holiday, check out the LifterLMS cast. Got some great new episodes. I was trying to do, I hit the wrong one, buddy.